Yeah, there we are. Latest edition of the hashtag OTB Koigig podcast. You can catch the whole thing back across all of OTB's social channels, and the hashtag OTB Koigig pod and OTB Sports is in association with Cadbury FC, official snack partner to the Republic of Ireland women's national team. Arsenal currently 3-0 up on Spurs this evening, which means the title race will go down to the final day, Sunday. West Ham will play Arsenal, Chelsea will play Manchester United. Chelsea are a point ahead, so an amazing finish in the WSL as well as the Premier League this season. Now, time for the football show.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Now then, you're welcome along to the football show. Very happy to say Kenny Cunningham has been in for the evening. He's had a great time. A great time, would you say, Kenny?
Put words in your mouth, Joe.
An adequate time?
Especially not those ones.
We're getting you the taxi home, made you a cup of tea. I mean, that's about the height of it. You were chatting snooker to Ken Doherty. Doesn't get any better than that, surely?
Yeah, he's a good lad, Ken. Got a lot of time from you.
And we've been watching events from the Bernabeu. Real Madrid 0, Manchester City 0, so still 4-3 on aggregate. I don't want to make you overly repeat yourself. You weren't blown away by the first half in terms of quality, but I suppose there's still lots of tension and intensity about the game, and it's not a bad watch either.
Yeah, but they should be level. Start to the second half, Madrid's tip off, the ball just been floated over the head of Cancelo. I don't know what he was doing. He's running up the pitch when he should be running backwards. Danny Carvajal's just like sprinted past him, knocked the ball first time across the 6-yard box. All the Manchester City defenders just racing back in there. Kyle Walker actually done really well, narrowed up and prevented Benzema from getting a tap in. The ball then has just fallen to Vinicius at the back post under no pressure. It's bouncing up off the ground, don't get me wrong, but he's had an eternity to seize it up and just make a good contact and find the target. He's kind of sliced it wide. Best chance of the game so far. Great opportunity for Madrid to get themselves back on equal terms.
Would you say either side is dominated?
No, not at all. Both sides have kind of huffed and puffed. Lack of quality really is probably what I said first half. Disappointing, to be honest with you. I mean, you could argue the game was tense, you know, what's at stake and all that type of thing, but no, you would expect actually more quality from both of these teams. Particularly when I'm talking about quality, I'm talking about in possession, in terms of kind of quality of the pass and some of the combination play, etc. They just haven't been good enough to need a team to fashion too many clear-cut opportunities. So, yeah, a little bit underwhelming first half, but the second half's been better. Certainly from Real Madrid, the intensity has been better. And like I said, they've had that one great chance and Manchester City have got away with one.
Why is it that the Man City midfield totally outplayed Madrid in the first leg and it just hasn't happened at all this evening, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that's probably quite a long conversation. I mean, I haven't played as well, haven't moved the ball as well. Haven't been as accurate with their pass and the movement ahead of the ball hasn't been as good. From all those, little small drop-offs and all those things, Joe, have a real kind of impact. I'm watching Vinicius here again driving Diaz into the box.
Oof, it was back to Modric, edge of the area, and he volleyed it with his left foot and it was blocked and went up in the air, and Ederson came for it and spilled it, and just for a moment there you thought it could have been a serious spill. Man City get away with it. Maybe that's the tension you're talking about.
Yeah, panicking, isn't it? Ederson came out and cleared out Diaz there, and then they've given the ball away again on the edge of their penalty box, having to defend another cross into the box, kind of scrambling, a little bit desperate defending here for Manchester City. This is where they don't want to be against this Real Madrid team, getting penned into their last third for long periods.
See, ordinarily you'd say, oh well, Man City are just going to get the ball and keep the ball now and take the sting out of the occasion. But even just there, they won it back and gave it away so cheaply by comparison with how they would usually keep the ball. Yeah,
I agree with you totally. Yeah, and there's no as if you can look at that midfield three, nothing's changed really. Rodri is a decent ball player, like decent technical ability, doesn't get embarrassed with the ball at his feet. And De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, we know how good they are in those central positions, but give Madrid a little bit of credit at times in terms of, when they give it away, that kind of counter press a little bit to get it back. But even still, you'd expect City to be better than that. Still say Foden's looking sharp. Like, he looks as if he's actually playing that central role now, and Jesus has drifted over to the left-hand side. I think that happened second half of the first half, to be honest with you. Now, he's looking sharp, Foden, but he's been starved a little bit of the ball. Going back to what we're saying about Man City, not really dominating possession as they normally would do. you know, and getting their front three and their two number 8s into the game as often as possible. You know, plenty of possession. They've all been starved a little bit, and certainly the opening 5-10 minutes of the second half, it's kind of been Madrid a little bit on the front foot in the ascendancy.
Yeah. On Man City's bench, amongst others, they have Sterling, they have Grealish. We saw Fernandinho warming up at half-time. I'm not sure, is there an injury there? They have Gundogan. Zinchenko's on the bench, I suppose, which is at least some backup for full-back cover if Kyle Walker can't make it through the full 90. Is there someone there to change the flow of this game that's jumping out to you?
Not necessarily. If you were saying there's someone on the bench, you're talking about them not being able to dominate. That's kind of central area, but who they're going to bring off the bench. Not going to bring necessarily Fernandinho on to do that. He's not necessarily that.
Let me throw one at you. Man City here, in much the same way that an Aston Villa would need someone on the half-turn, halfway line, an out ball. Jack Grealish there on the halfway line that they could give it to and maybe get turned and running at Madrid might give them a bit of an out. I wouldn't say Jesus has been massively effective.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to get Grealish in that central three area of the pitch. If he's going to come on that left of a three, isn't he, high up the pitch? I think if you're talking about wrestling initiative of the game and dictating, you're probably looking at those three central midfield players. So for me, they're actually on the pitch. You know, Rodri, Bernardo Silva. Yeah. And De Bruyne, there's enough experience and quality there now. Those three between themselves have got to start demanding the ball off people. Look at that dreadful ball
Walker.
there from Kyle Walker.
Walker, square ball, straight across midfield. Madrid could be in here. Better touch from Vinicius. Man City get away with it again.
Yeah, so that type of thing. There's been too many of those kind of misplaced passes, isn't there? So, yeah, De Bruyne now in particular, it's got to be the vocal now in terms of demanding more from them, giving good information, getting into areas of the pitch where he can receive the ball and start dictating things himself. Bernardo Silva, they're good enough to do that. I don't necessarily think the answer's on the bench. You could argue maybe, potentially, you know, maybe Sterling on left of a three ahead of Jesus. You've mentioned Jack Grealish. Potentially Gundogan could come in there at the expense of Bernardo Silva in that kind of, advanced number 8 position. Oh,
great ball. De Bruyne to Foden. Couldn't get turned. Oh, it was a lovely ball. De Bruyne hasn't done a huge amount.
Yeah, so it's there, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can see it, De Bruyne. He got that. We know he's got that. He's just got to get himself on the ball more. And that's not just only him. I think that's Rodri, who's playing at that deep line position. He's got to want to get on the ball and break the lines with his pass and get De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva on the ball a little bit higher up the pitch as well.
Are you seeing a tiredness in Man City or Liverpool at the moment?
No, certainly not seeing it in Liverpool. I know they didn't play well first half against Villarreal last night, but I didn't think that was a tiredness necessarily creeping into their play. Maybe a little bit of small position impression, a little bit of legginess maybe in that first half. Manchester maybe might be a little bit of a stretch, Joe, to be honest with you, but it's not an awkward for Guardiola. 0-0, they're still a goal ahead. So it's one of them. Do you preempt it? Do you wait till that first goal is conceded, as very often is the case with managers, and then they think, now I've got to make the change? Or sometimes, which is the bolder decision, and you leave yourself a little bit more open for criticism. You make the substitution now. Whether that substitution is, just a big substitution would be, you're talking about Fernandinho coming on, might be Fernandinho on, Bernardo Silva off, and go to an orthodox midfield to him and Rodri in there, and play De Bruyne as a 10, which he often does in the central area.
Because the clock becomes their friend as it goes on. That's the dynamic here. It was interesting. You could see when Madrid had the ball on their own half, Pep was really gesturing to Mahrez to come on, get up and press. So you get this sense from Pep, even watching on the sideline, he just feels they're a little bit too much on the back foot, a little bit reactive instead of proactive, and not putting Madrid under enough pressure. Because the 10-15 minutes of this half, Madrid have knocked the ball around under very little pressure, all things considered. So it's interesting. This title race is rather incredible at the moment. I presume you're enjoying the football, are you? You know, like we all go through peaks and troughs with our football. I think everyone's enjoying it at the moment.
The contest between the front two, obviously that's the case, and even kind of that last Champions League spot, which, you know, generally speaking, wouldn't be getting overly excited about. I think that's like COP4 a little bit as well, isn't it? Particularly the contest now, as it looks like, between Spurs and Arsenal. The fact they've got the North London derby coming up over the next week or so, and so that's Spurs play Liverpool.
I gave you the fixtures
weekend.
Actually,
I think
So Saturday, 7:45. Interestingly.
Yeah, it's a late one, which for me even heightens it even more. Evening kick-off Saturday, exactly.
7:45 kick-off on a Saturday. I think, and
that's Liverpool's biggest game for me between now and the if they can get over. I know they go to Aston Villa away next week.
Saturday Spurs at Anfield 7:45. Then Tuesday 8:00 Villa Park. Then Saturday FA Cup final Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday
Southampton away.
Southampton away. Well done, Kenny.
And then Wolves at home.
Final day of the season. Wolves at home.
Yeah. So I think their last 2 games, Liverpool last 3. I think they'd be if they go. I've said it a few weeks ago. I felt if they could get through the next couple, and that includes that's Tottenham really at the weekend, and they're still a point behind. So I think City have the slightly harder run in the last 3 games. I think West Ham away, Wolves away from me, Manchester City. And then I know Aston Villa home last game of the season doesn't seem enough, but I just can't. That picture in Steven Gerrard walking out of the Etihad, wearing that like Liverpool jersey underneath the suit, a bit like Superman Clark Kent.
Yeah.
You know, heavy irony there if he was to go there with Aston Villa and take points off City. I mean, that would be just Hollywood stuff, wouldn't it? If that was to happen,
Finally, he won the league for Liverpool.
That's what I'm saying. Finally winning the league for Liverpool as Aston Villa manager, that would be the headline. I mean, that's what it could. But that's how I see. I might be wrong. City might win every single game, but the game Saturday night for Liverpool is massive. I can't wait because Spurs at the moment, defensively solid. They're going to have to play a game Spurs which they want to play. Ideally, Conte wants to play in terms of taking a step back towards the 18, drawn teams on and looking to hit them on the counter attack with that front 3, Kulusevski, Son, and Kane. He's inviting teams onto his team. I want you to commit your fullbacks as high up the pitch as you can. I want to play 2v2 against your opposition centre halves, and Liverpool go, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah,
we'll gladly do that.
Can't not be a good game, can it?
Yeah, so I think that's fascinating. If Liverpool can tiptoe their way through that game, I still think a lot of people would say, well, see, you've got the
I'll give you
advantage,
City.
but
They have Newcastle. You said at home. That's on Sunday.
Wolves
away on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
So Liverpool will have played first on the Tuesday, and then Wolves host City on the Wednesday. Then West Ham away. They're 2 tough games. And then, as you said, Aston Villa. I mean, I did wonder at the weekend, Newcastle away was very tricky for Liverpool on the face of it. I thought Elland Road, evening kick-off, bit of rain, desperate for points at Elland Road. I thought that would be more of a banana skin. And I know it wasn't a 4-0 game.
No, it wasn't a 4-0, you're right. No, I didn't see that one myself. I just thought Leeds still a little bit too loose, wouldn't have enough for Manchester City. To be honest, I've always felt for a while City, look, it's West Ham away and Wolves away. Now I know Wolves gave up a few goals the other day against Brighton. The manager was a bit critical of them. But generally speaking, defensively, they're solid. That kind of back 5, the screen in front, and they can hurt you. They can hurt you in counter attack. They got real speed and dynamism in that team. Podence up top, Neto in particular can really get at you on counter. So they're the 2 games for me. City need to be right at it.
I wanted to ask you as well. You've been in periods, I'm sure, in your career where, look, not quite going, admittedly, for league titles or Champions League finals, but periods where you're in a groove and you're going along and you're either fighting relegation or you're pushing for something and you're in a groove and you're in a groove and you're in a groove. I do wonder with both Liverpool and City, they've played so many games. There's bound to be knocks and injuries and tiredness, but adrenaline is getting them through and just the sense of occasion about the whole thing is getting them through. You do wonder if a defeat, say City, for instance, this evening lost to Madrid, I do wonder if some kind of defeat almost sucks all the air out of the thing, and a little bit akin to Arsenal after the invincible run. There's a bit of a hangover and you could see them go off a cliff a touch.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point because people normally make the argument, and there's an argument for it in terms of, if you stay in all the competitions Liverpool has, you're going to suffer eventually. Physically, it's too much commitment. Physically, you're going to drop off. It's going to catch up with you at some time. But I always felt there's an opposite argument in terms of by staying in all of these competitions, just that kind of that buzz.
Yeah.
That adrenaline rush. Liverpool have it at the moment, still in all the competitions. Everybody's getting the game time. He has to rotate the squad. Nobody's feeling left out. Everybody's playing their part. Everybody's pushing each other. So for me, it's having the opposite effect on Liverpool. It's actually driving them. Staying in all the competitions is actually been a help. For me, you could argue it the opposite way. in Liverpool's case. And I think you're right, Manchester City, if they were to lose tonight, they're in a decent position at the moment, but they lose this game tonight, I think for them in particular, with their history in this competition, Guardiola in particular, that's huge.
Well, I think
psychologically,
Guardiola, the air gets sucked out of him.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, you can't make the argument, City lose tonight, they don't have to worry about a Champions League Cup final. I mean, that's a pretty weak argument then, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there's real almost psychological damage there, and there's a real not an obligation, but the manager has a real job in his hands in terms of kind of motivating the players, but emotionally getting, mentally, psychologically getting them back in the place where they need to be for those remaining games that we just spoke about.
64 minutes on the clock. Real Madrid 0, Man City 0. It was interesting. There was a break in play, and Mahrez was over on the touchline, pointing out some tactical issue or other, or decision he doesn't like having to make at the moment to Guardiola in this game, and Guardiola's gesturing back, and there's an exchange of words. I wouldn't say either walked away like, oh, we've solved it. It was like, just do something. So this is a tough night for City, but we did say the clock will become their friend. 64 minutes on the clock now. Still plenty of time left when it's Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. On Ancelotti, I was defending him there in the last hour. You were saying bit overrated. No, I'm misrepresenting. I'm misrepresenting. So Ancelotti has become the first ever manager to win all 5 major European leagues: Premier League, Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga, Ligue 1. If he wins the Champions League this season, he'll have the most Champions Leagues in history. He'll overtake Bob Paisley and Zidane, who are on 3. So considering the CV, there is no doubt he's one of the forgotten managers. I think if you said to a lot of football fans, give me your top 3 managers in Europe.
Yeah.
Pep and Klopp straight off the tongue, and then depends on your persuasion. Maybe you say Simeone, maybe you say someone else. I just think people would forget him, and then you'd be say, what about Ancelotti? And they go, oh yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Why is that, do you think? Why is that?
I think you're right, but it's all about the here and the now, I think, sometimes with football, isn't it? I suppose if you think of his last couple of seasons,
just won La Liga and he's in Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, but prior to arriving at Real Madrid this season, it was like he'd pitched up at Everton. Prior to that, you had that season Napoli. There was a little bit of transition going on there at the time. Obviously, there wasn't a huge amount of success of both of those football clubs. So it doesn't take long, does it? A couple of years.
And before that, Bayern, and the reports from Bayern were the players, I don't know how true it was, were almost organising side training sessions because the intensity post Guardiola of Ancelotti was not all that impressive to them. They felt we're not doing what we should be here.
Well, wouldn't be surprised if maybe they weren't, the training sessions weren't to the level like the intensity maybe that Guardiola. But every manager is different. Not exactly sure there's a right or a wrong. Guardiola demands 100% every day in training. That's the right way. Suddenly now that's the right way. And somebody takes a slightly different approach, maybe trusts his players a little bit more, maybe doesn't demand so much from a Monday to Friday, but says, look, I appreciate, that's fine, second gear, that's good, as long as Saturday I need you where I need that type. That's a little bit now old school. Some people would say that's dinosaur stuff, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I still think there's that can play a part in the modern game. I think it's man management, I think. And what I will say about Ancelotti, He's one of those managers. Very rarely over the years I've picked up a paper when he's left a football club, I've heard a negative comment from too many of his ex-players. I mean, generally speaking, they speak very well about him. Not necessarily, Joe, you've mentioned there about this lad from a tactical point of view. He just absolutely blows us away in terms of the information that he's given us overload. It's just, this fella's just amazing, on a different planet. But just in terms of his how he manages players, how he treats people, seems to have a really good relationship, not just a professional but on a personal level with his players. There's real empathy there with them. Like even those celebrations, I know it's only a small thing during the week when they won the league, you could see him really enjoying the company of his players. Like in the moment, there was no detachment there between him and the playing squad, and I think that's always been the case with him. The players, I think they respect him as a coach, as a manager, but I think as a person, I think they really enjoy his company as well. There's a healthy amount of respect, and I think that matters. It's a simple thing to say, but I think all of the players, they like him as a person. They really like him, and I think that can make a difference at various points during this. I think you dig a little bit deeper, Joe. I've always found, when a manager like that is in the dressing room at certain moments, big moments during the season, sitting you down half time or whatever, and he asks for a bit more, I think subconsciously you dig a little bit deeper for him.
Interesting.
Rather than somebody, he's smart, he's switched on, but not a huge amount of emotional connection here. It's a strange one, isn't it? But I think But I think that's a human thing. I think that's a natural thing we'd all do.
Tony Kroos off, Rodrigo is on 68 minutes on the clock. Can I ask a question now? And this is like, I think you'll regard this as a real media nonsensy kind of question as someone who's played the game. So bear with me, right? Because what I would say about Ancelotti, if you compare him to, again, Pep or Klopp, I feel if you look at Pep in particular and Klopp to a lesser extent, but I think if you look at some of their teams across the years, be it Dortmund as well as Liverpool or any of Pep's teams, if you didn't know they were the manager, you'd have a stab at guessing who was in charge of that team just by the way they played across a given game. Whereas Ancelotti, maybe it's to his credit that he hasn't been stuck to one rigid way of playing, be it Milan or Chelsea or Real Madrid. You'd look at an Ancelotti team and think, there's nothing particularly innovative or extreme or eye-catching about this team. It's just all good, solid football by numbers stuff. And I think that probably goes against him as well in this era where, quote-unquote, philosophies are the rage and they're celebrated and they're talked about. And I think with Ancelotti, he doesn't almost have like an MO in the media. Like you said, Pep, you can list off the things, you Klopp list off things. You say Ancelotti, what's Ancelotti football? He almost doesn't have it and it goes against him. And I think maybe that's a touch unfair for sure, but I think that's part of it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't buy into that.
I didn't think you would.
Yeah, so you've made the point that you wouldn't look at his sides and think that's necessarily an Ancelotti team. He plays different ways, tactical setup. But I'd turn that on his head and say, for me, well, you're talking about his strength there. You're talking about somebody who's very flexible in terms of how with the tactical setup of his team. And
he is flexible, is he?
I think he is, yeah. If you look at the teams, the clubs that you've mentioned over a long period of time, there's not one fixed... not like philosophy of play, say tactical setup. I'm talking, say, so 4-3-3, Guardiola's teams. Yes. And Klopp's, to be fair, back four, tight midfield three, 6-2-8, and the front three, and that's pretty similar. Different patterns of play in terms of what Guardiola asks of his players in that tactical setup to Klopp. But that's generally speaking. Now, they've gone to a back three occasion, different things. Liverpool generally don't.
No, I take the point. Yeah,
that type of thing. Now, Ancelotti's been a little bit different. Actually, for a lot of his career, he's played kind of traditional 4-4-2, and a lot of people, I think he went into Napoli. When he went into Napoli had quite a lot of success. This kind of 4-3-3 with that holding two number 8s, Insigne off the left, playing left of 3, etc. But he went in there he went to a 4-4-2. But at Madrid, he's flipped back to a 4-3-3. So that's for me somebody coming in the door and saying, right, let's have a look at the playing squad here. What have I got to deal with? How am I get the best out of these players? Ideally, I'd like to play with a 4-4-2, but haven't got the players here. I think these players can excel in a better system. So I'm going to revert to a different tactical setup. So that's like smart for me. That's kind of really smart. As opposed to a manager coming in saying, this is how I play, my way or the highway. I need a total buy-in for the players, or you're kind of out the door. This is it. This is my philosophy. I'm not gonna bend on it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Now, you could argue, well, that's impressive, or that's somebody who knows what he wants, and that's strong management. But I think you can argue that the opposite way for me, just as easily. And I think Ancelotti's one of them. He goes in, he gets the sense of the dressing room, very quickly gets an understanding. Didn't have to do that with this Real Madrid team, did he? He knew it. He knew it already. He'd managed a number of these players before, Joe. He obviously, before they even stepped into the dressing room, he knew how he was going to play. And nothing's changed, really, when he's gone in there. Absolutely right. They're going to win the league by maybe 15 points, Joe. But in terms, you look at the setup of the team, like Casemiro, Kroos and Modric really is the two number 8s. Then a couple of lads, Vinicius and a couple of lads, he's tinkered around the edges, but basically very, very little changes, because clearly he's thought, well, this, I've got to get the best. There's key players here in this team. Modric, how do I get the best out of him? Well, this particular system here. Benzema, what player's going to get round him? Vinicius. So he hasn't tinkered an awful lot, but sometimes that's the beauty of his management.
Yeah, no, it's a great point.
He doesn't do open heart surgery when he doesn't have to.
So I'm very taken with all these very glamorous, innovative managers. They're doing like fusion cuisine, and Ancelotti's just knocking out the roast chicken. Why wouldn't you use the oven?
I didn't know what you want to go with there.
Why wouldn't you use the oven? It works.
Exactly. Yeah. Big pot of order stew. Why not? I agree, and sometimes it's simplicity. It's not like overcomplicating the game for players, and it's actually breaking down and quite simplistic. But I think kind of giving your players a little bit of responsibility as well. Some managers will be very dictatorial. I think Guardiola's a bit like that. As good a players as he has, Joe.
Chance here for City. Thought it was gone. Oh, it's a goal. Mahrez finishes brilliantly. we thought the chance had gone away, and then Mahrez popped in out of screen. Oh, Man City, 73 minutes on the clock. Fusion Cuisine wins.
Absolutely.
Man City 1-0 up against Real
That was
Madrid.
a touch of
5-3.
Japanese tapenaki there from Riyad Mahrez. How often has he done that? He's, the ball's just rolled to him, right hand side inside the box. He approaches with his left foot. You're thinking he's going to set it out to that far post, and he wraps his foot around it, like kids the defender and the goalkeeper, and whips it inside that near post. He's done that a few times. So hard to read, because I think goalkeepers have to almost take a step to the right if they're going to stop that shot inside the far post. Now they're covering the near post. If you look at Courtois there, I'm sure he's thinking he's going to curl this far post.
Yes.
He's half leaning to his right hand side, and then he whips that ball on the inside. He's only 10, 11 yards out, Joe. Gets a huge amount of power on it. It's probably on about a yard of space between Courtois and the near post, but he finds it. You know what I mean? He hits it whips it that quickly.
Oh, it's an amazing finish.
And he's been a big miss, Joe. I'm saying, Guardiola, for me, say not overcomplicating the game as he hasn't done the last two games.
Yeah.
The two big games they've had, like the Liverpool games, the league game at the Etihad, and the cup semi-final. This lad was on the bench, Riyad Mahrez, and that was another one of those decisions that had me scratching my head. For me, he's been the City's best probably forward for the past 12 months or so. Mahrez, I think he's playing at his peak. Actually, he's at absolute peak in his career. Goals, I think he's joint goal scorer. He might be sole league goal scorer on his own now after that, which is pretty impressive for somebody again who plays off the right hand side. So for me, two big massive games there against Liverpool. He parks him on the bench. That surprised me, and that Liverpool game for me was a chance for City to bury City. I thought Man City played well that day. Liverpool for me were a bit out of sorts that game. Manchester City, they actually got away with one. I think we might have spoken about it, and I just maybe him on the pitch. I know he came on late and he chipped that one over the bar, but for me that was another one for me. Guardiola, just scratching your head, big game, just get your best players on the pitch. I think he's done that the last two games to him. To be fair, Guardiola. In terms of, Jesus down the middle, Foden and Mahrez in particular off that right hand side. That's a surprise. Modric come off. He done that in the first leg as well. Ancelotti, I've been talking him up, but you're really chasing a game 5-3 down. You take Modric off. It's a strange one because I watched the Chelsea game, the second leg of the Bernabeu. Modric for me physically was unbelievable, Joe.
I know.
Extra time, tackling, hunting people down. I might have mentioned, I said this is phenomenal. 36, I know he's not carrying a lot of weight, but 30, a bit like myself and yourself. But even still, hurrying around the pitch, making tackles, and deep into injury time.
I couldn't believe, because I don't remember him doing that even for Croatia at the most recent tournament. It was like he was inspired.
But that's
maybe it was an inspired moment.
Maybe there's an injury there we don't know about. But I know he took him off at the Etihad, didn't he? That surprised me kind of first leg, and he's done the same tonight. Yeah. That's huge. But we
have to take a break. There'll be no outside of the boot Modric pass to rescue things anyway. So 15 minutes to go. Man City have a 2-goal advantage. You would think even this Real Madrid team. Well, I'm not going to say it because they probably will, but Man City looking good. Our football show coverage is brought to you by Sky. Watch every big game from the Women's Super League live on Sky Sports. We'll take a short break.
Football
live on Sky Sports.
Welcome back. So Real Madrid 0, Manchester City 1 on the evening, 5-3 on aggregate now, 12 minutes to go plus at a time at the Bernabeu. Saw a tweet from Paul Hayward, the sports writer, who said there are a lot of extremely good players playing very moderately in this Real Madrid-Man City game, which is probably your sentiment. Who do you make favourites for the final?
Do
you think Man City are Man City the better team?
Oh, we can't start. What do you mean by the better?
One-off games against Liverpool, are they the better team?
No, I think a lot of things. I think there's so little between them, Joe. Even in terms of personnel. Even team selection, I'd argue. I'd never predict a win between Liverpool and Manchester City unless I can see the starting 11 for the start.
Yeah, sure.
For the reasons that I've said. So I see a Liverpool team say pretend. Now there's no weaknesses in either team. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not saying here these are the weaknesses in both teams. But if I see a Liverpool team, for example, and Joel Matip and Trent are playing down the right hand side of the pitch, and they're up against an opposition team who have a kind of real kind of pace in that potentially in that area of the pitch, I think to myself, slight advantage there to the opposition team. So if City were to play with like maybe Sterling off the left and Foden down the middle, a bit like the league game, I think they threw Foden left and Sterling down the middle. And I think that was, you know what I mean, the thinking there was Matip plays, Trent getting himself forward. It's got to be space down that Liverpool right-hand side in behind Joel Matip, who isn't the quickest on the recovery. But Konate plays in that position, suddenly it's different, ridiculously. So even small things like that, just in terms of decision makers, is that close between. I would lean towards Liverpool. I think Liverpool are the only team really that worry City and Guardiola. I think they're the only team around who really get under the skin. We spoke about this before. I mean, the type of football that Liverpool play, the kind of physicality, the kind of dynamism which they bring to the game. The high pressure game that all of that. I think City don't find that easy. And they've really got inside Manchester City's heads a little bit over the past couple of years. So for me, if you're asking a one-off game, forgetting about potentially exactly who lines up, although I think it is a factor.
Yeah.
For me, I just lean towards Liverpool out of the two. Now in the league, it's a little bit different. So you have the point advantage, and we're factoring in different games, what teams they have. So all of those come into the equation when we're talking about the league. But a one-off game, for me, it's slightly Liverpool. Obviously, like I said, depending on the kind of starting lineups in each team. And that's a credit to Liverpool, how they play, the type of football they play. Yeah. Don't try and out-football Manchester City. Like Chelsea will go there and try and go toe-to-toe to them a little bit in terms of possession based on working the ball neatly up the pitch, clever triangles and things like that. Liverpool do it a slightly different way. Ball back to front a little bit quicker, wide areas, plenty of crosses into the box, that type of thing. Press early, counter press, high intensity.
Yeah.
We know, we've all seen it, you know what I mean? They've had some success with it, Liverpool, and I think City have a little bit of difficulty with that.
Has Thiago won you over a bit more of late?
Of late, yeah, it has done. Yeah, we get a few texts off people. Eat your words, swallow your word, blah, blah, blah. But look, he's been there for 2 years, 18 months, 2 years. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make a judgment call. He's certainly playing his best in Liverpool jersey, I'd say, the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
He's making more successful tackles than unsuccessful tackles, which isn't usually the case with him. And we know he's got good quality on the ball. And he didn't play well last night, as there wasn't a number of players. So not going to make a judgment call off the back of one game. But I still say those the qualities which he has. I just say those weaknesses are still there, just in terms of his defensive qualities. Now, some people say that's not what he was brought to the team, and I understand that, and I think he does add another string to Liverpool's bow in terms of the quality of his passing at times. I think
he's gone to another level on that front of late, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has done well, and I think you're right, because sometimes for me, in possession of the ball, his passing's too safe. I mean, I'm getting sick of seeing his pass completion rate, because for me the majority of those passes are sideways or backwards and not really taking opposition players out of the game. So you can forget about all of those passes for me. The passes that really count, which are take opposition players out of the game, which are really forward passes between the lines, they're the ones that really matter. And I agree with you, there have been a number of them over the past maybe month or so, and he has been an asset to the team, and he has been effective, and that's a good thing to see, and that's another strength to Liverpool's bow going forward. And it'd be interesting to see if Klopp embraces that, where he feels as if he can almost carry Thiago to an extent out of possession because of what he brings to the team in possession, that array of passing and quality that he has in possession.
He's noteworthy. He's making more tackles, and good tackles at that as well. So everything seems to have come up for whatever reason. I'd be interested to hear that from him, what he feels has changed.
I still feel as though Liverpool, for me, Joe, though, it looks as if City gone and Haaland's going to come in. That's huge. I wouldn't say he's going to take him to the next level. He's not going to make that much, but he's going to improve Manchester City absolutely.
It's going to be worth a few points this season.
And for me, although don't look at that Liverpool team, I think there's an obvious weakness there. For me, I think they can improve in that central midfield there. I think they can go and get the position that they're in now. Could be potential Champions League winners, could win the league. They'll never be in a better position to get some of the best talent, probably best young talent I'm talking about, to get into the football club.
Yeah.
I still feel as if Liverpool need going forward. Jordan Henderson just on the turn a little bit. We've seen that this season. Klopp can't get him on the pitch for as many minutes, got to protect him a little bit. So that's going to be the case going forward with him. He's not going to have an impact on the team as he has done previously, week in, week out. And I just feel as if Liverpool need to bring sacrifice 2 or 3 of those midfielders that they have. They got a lot of midfielders on the books. If that means Keita out, Oxlade-Chamberlain out, even kind of Minamino, players on the periphery, get him off the wage bill, get 50, 60 million in the bank, and then go and spend big on a top class central midfielder. And they're out there. We know who they are. Bellingham, like Tuchmani, these type of players, outstanding young talent with still more to come, who could actually really develop and mature in that environment that Liverpool have at the moment. So I'm not saying Liverpool are desperate for a central midfielder, but I'm saying I think numbers for me, they could sacrifice 2 or 3 and get one really top class, young, hungry, up and coming central midfielder, box to box, anything. Bellingham for me could be anything. He's an 8 at the moment. He could end up being a 6 playing in front of a back. He could play anywhere. Tuchmani's a little bit similar like that to me as well from what I've seen of him. This Camavinga was an interesting one as well, but obviously they missed the boat on him. Looks as if they're not going to get him now. He's at Madrid. They're not going to be able to tempt him away from there. But that's for me. If I look at Liverpool next season in terms of where's the improvement's going to come, that's it. I'm very interested to see if Klopp sees it differently, or whether he says, no, perfectly happy with this squad. Sometimes you don't have to tinker. We'll continue as we are. But I still think they need to push a little bit more, Liverpool.
Oh, Jack Grealish. He's had a real impact since he has come off the bench. He had a couple of runs down the left-hand side and just there, got to the byline, put it across the goal, and I don't know how it didn't go in. It dribbled across the line, and Mendy was there, was he?
Doesn't matter, as a Joe, game's over.
Yeah, Madrid have kind of had to throw everyone forward now, so City are probably going to score another on the break here. Grealish even in the box as we speak.
And there's more to come from him.
Shoots, just wide. And
there's more to come. We talk about Haaland coming in, but you can't say they've got everything out of him, Jack Grealish. There's more to come.
60% out of Grealish, have they?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So if he can take his game to the next level, or if... Not exactly...
It's a save. That was an amazing effort by Grealish.
Not exactly sure. I was just saying, I'm not sure Guardiola can tap into that with Grealish, to be honest with you, because like you said, he's so regimented in terms of how he asks players to play in every position on the pitch. Not exactly sure I can see Grealish necessarily reaching those heights playing that left of a 3 position. Doesn't look as if he's going to trust him in those 2 central midfield positions, those 2 number 8s. So if he's going to play in this Man City team, it's going to be left of a front 3, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Going forward, I'm not necessarily sure you're going to see the very best out of Grealish. That kind of free spirit, drifting on the inside, receiving the ball in those pockets, centrally dropping it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get that type of commitment from Guardiola kind of going forward. So his position will be interesting to see whether there comes a time with him where he thinks, am I going to be satisfied with 15, 20 starts a season here in this Manchester City team, albeit I'm picking up trophies and winners' medals.
I know, but if it's gone that way, he needs to get out, I think. It's amazing watching Foden, how disciplined Foden is. You can tell he's been schooled thoroughly by the Man City machine, because for such a skillful player, man, he doesn't half work. Even watching tonight, he sprints to the man in possession every time. He wouldn't dream of jogging over. Even here we go. Look at this. Straight over. 88 minute, 2 goals up, and he's tracking the run. I don't know if Guardiola trusts Grealish to do what Foden just did there, even though it was a nothing moment.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. Otherwise, he'd play more.
Would he be right not to trust Grealish there? Would you back Grealish to do what Foden just did there, which was sprint over and then track the runner? Yeah, that's the problem.
No, I wouldn't. But then I suppose the argument is, can you find a position for him in the team? I'm talking about Thiago. It might get to a point where you think he's got to play because of that quality which he's bringing us in possession, finding players in pockets and quality the final ball and chipping in. Maybe he needs to chip in with a few more goals. So can we carry him? Can we carry him in any area of the pitch? Klopp might think, well, yeah, I know he's defensive, he's got a couple of little deficiencies there, but I don't mind.
And they are little deficiencies. I presume there are very few midfielders that have real technical prowess and can change a game going forward. I presume everyone has some weakness.
Yeah, but I think there's a bit for majority of Thiago's career, that we gone over all ground here.
Yeah.
For me, I just don't think he can't tackle. He's one of the few players for me. I don't think he understands how to tackle. If you look at Thiago, even when he's winning tackles, he's off the ground. He's kind of 2-footed.
I know what you mean.
Throwing himself in. That's a classic example of somebody who doesn't understand actually how to tackle.
Madrid have just scored the first of the 2 they're about to score in these dying seconds. 89 minutes on the clock, 1-1 on the night. Now it's back to 5-4. There's a raised Ancelotti eyebrow.
The classic raised eyebrow from Ancelotti. Why we left it, as if to say, why we left this so late.
Yeah, Benzema far post, sticks it across, and it's directed in. So we're at 1-1 on the night. Madrid need another.
Yeah, good anticipation from Rodrigo. You wouldn't have said there was a goal coming, and Benzema just helps it back into the 6-yard box, doesn't he? That near post area. And Edison actually reads it and comes out. He looks as if he's going to deal with it, but he just kind of hesitates a little bit. And Rodrigo, travelling full pelt, just get nicks in front of him, deflects it into the net.
There will be 6 minutes of added time.
Liverpool supporters might get that Real Madrid final that they're praying for.
Are we staying for penalties? What's the plan? You've a taxi booked.
Take away Leo Burdocks. Liverpool. What do you reckon?
Well, listen, I mean, geez, 6 minutes suddenly.
Won't be paying for it. I know that. No change there.
Suddenly, Man City will be feeling a bit queasy. Almost again. So Madrid are going to go for this. We're going to take a very short break just so we're with you for the final couple of minutes. Our football show coverage is brought to you by Sky. Watch big games from the Women's Super League live on Sky Sports. So Madrid need a goal to bring this to extra time. They have 5.5 minutes to do it. Back in 1 sec.
Football.
Sky Sports.
Oh, stop. This is unbelievable. Madrid actually did score. It's just... Oh my God. Right as we went to the ad break, they did score the second that we promised you. It's 5-5 on aggregate. It is 2-1 to Real Madrid on the night. They are pushing for a third. Man City are on the rack here. 3 minutes to go of added time. I think there's going to be a goal here somewhere. Either City counter-attack, or it feels more likely Madrid are going to win this. So it was Rodrigo again. I didn't even know who'd scored it. Rodrigo in the 90th minute, Rodrigo in the 91st minute. What happened with this 91st minute goal? I didn't even see it.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I couldn't believe what I was saying. Got to be honest with you. Danny Carvajal put an unbelievable cross in, whipped it around Jack Grealish into the centre of the goal. It's one of those situations, you're just looking at your two centre-halves, Laporte and Diaz, and saying, look, if ever we need you, this is now. Just go and head it. Win your header. And Rodrigo, he's not a joint, is he, Joe? In terms of the centre-forward, he's just...
No, he's not. Just
got in front of Diaz. I think Diaz is looking at Laporte thinking, you're gonna deal with this. He doesn't. Drifts over his head.
Oh! Phil Foden just blazed one over from 16 yards out.
Yeah, and look, just saying there, Rodrigo, great header into the top corner. Unbelievable.
Was it more you'd give Rodrigo credit than Man City defenders not getting to the ball, yeah?
Oh, no, you got to... We're talking about Jack Grealish, aren't we? In terms of his defensive work, or does he track back in?
Trusting him.
One of those examples, and he gets out there to be fair to Carvajal, but ultimately doesn't stop the cross. Can he get that half a yard closer? They're showing the Jack Grealish chance there when he went around the keeper 2-0. We dismissed it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. The game's over. I actually said that. We didn't say it. I'm just trying to bring you into it.
Sorry, I asked you who'd win the final. The correct answer was Real Madrid.
I was saying Liverpool supporters want Real Madrid. That's the one they want. They might still get it. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing. Like, no inclination there. A little bit of desperation, you'd say. Ancelotti making the changes has to make him chasing the game. We're saying, Madrid, what's he doing? Bringing... What's he doing?
I thought,
what's
makes no odds, it's over.
And Rodrigo, amazing. Well, he's a funny one, isn't he? Vinicius got all the headlines the last kind of, he's brought in for decent money. Vinicius, the boat came in for 45 million.
About 21 years of age.
Yeah. And Rodrigo, hasn't been on the periphery of a little bit, hasn't had the impact certainly this season that Vinicius has, but it's come with some two absolutely massive goals this evening. First goal was sharp, Joe. Just anticipation, getting across Edison, but that's second. I still think, I have a feeling Asensio gets a flick on that before it arrives on Rodrigo's head, and that's unbelievable, Joe, because they're only 5 yards apart. Usually a player in front gets a flick on it, that's it hits the top of your head, goes the opposite direction.
Someone tweeted me, never knock a good roast chicken. Stick it in the box, get your head on it, we're fine. Oh, and do you know what, actually, in hindsight, the Benzema touch back across for the first goal, the cushioned left-footed touch, he's just quality, isn't he?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I wouldn't overplay that one now, Joe.
It was unbelievable, Kenny.
It was only cut. He was no pressure. All he could do was really cushion it to that near post area.
I know. But under the pressure, in the moment, I'm not overplaying it, I'm just noting it.
Yeah, but you're right in terms of, so that caller coming in the rows, so you look at those goals in terms of how they've been created. A first goal is just like, hopeful cross to the back, but just putting it into a good area.
Sorry, this is why Ancelotti doesn't grab you, because like these goals are just little punsy and there's nothing to
it. Yeah,
them.
but you might as well say the same about Klopp. just hopeful crosses in from the sides from Trent. No, but they're good quality.
There's nothing hopeful about Trent crosses.
But this is what I'm telling you, Joe. Even at this level, that ball from Danny Carvajal that he puts in.
Oh no, as
a defender, this is what you don't want to deal with.
Sure. Flat
balls whipped in, delivered with pace. People arriving into the box. Sure. You're getting twisted up. Do you head it? Do you stick with your runner? What this football like that really puts pressure on the opposition defenders, and Manchester City have buckled in the last kind of 5 minutes of that game.
I'm seeing it here. Yeah, it's a great cross. It's a great header, isn't it? It's gone full time. We're headed for extra time. This is just unbelievable.
I think it's a disgrace if we don't stay here and cover this extra time.
This
because your missus, just because you promised your missus you'd have a takeaway. Takeaway Chinese. You'd be back indoors at 10:45.
Who's your favourite here
to go through? Oh well, you'd have to lean towards Madrid at the moment, and for the obvious reason, just in terms of momentum. I mean, City have to pick themselves. That's a big speech Guardiola has to make now to his players and the side of that pitch in terms of picking them up.
They really didn't manage that game well. 2-up City. It was Grealish running out and they're on the counter, and that's all great and everything, and I think they got caught up in that.
No, you're wrong there.
No, they should have managed that game better.
No, but that's if you were saying, they gave up the initiative and they were getting pummeled for the last 20 minutes of that second half, I'd agree with you. But they were comfortable. They were looking as if they were the ones going to get the third goal. Joe, that's not a team which isn't managing the game. That's a team which it looks as if it's going to go and get the third and fourth goal, which they could have done with Grealish. Sometimes, Joe, it's just a small period, 2 or 3 minutes in the game. It just that's the beauty of the game, isn't it?
It is the beauty of the game. But there was a degree of in going for it the way they did with Grealish, like it was almost counter-attacking stuff.
But those goals they conceded, they went hit on the counter-attack, Joe. It wasn't as if committing players high up the pitch, which they can do.
No, but
Madrid have picked them off.
Would you not say let's keep possession here? Let's get Madrid. They've made subs. They're already thinking, God, we're out here. We're 2 goals down. Let's make them chase after the ball
I would say, no, for me, it's individual. Those both goals they conceded, they've almost got every player behind the ball. So now it's about individual responsibility in around the box, do your job. Jack Grealish, having got close to Danny Carvajal, can you stop that cross coming into the box?
Agreed.
Once it comes in, 2 Manchester City centre-halves win that first header. If you can't win it, Diaz, can you go and block off Rodrigo? Diaz doesn't get off the ground. When Rodrigo has that ball into there, it doesn't get off the ground, doesn't really make a huge amount of contact with him either. So it's getting Ederson again when Benzema cushions that ball. Could he be a little bit more decisive at the near post? Can Diaz react to the run of Rodrigo? So for me, there's an individual defensive quality.
I agree in all those moments. But I'm thinking, what would Man City have done in so many games there? They would have made you chase after that ball. Bump, 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 bump. They would have ground you into misery. And then Madrid would have stopped chasing after 10 minutes of that. and then they probably would have...
That's a stretch. No, I don't think... I understand the point that you're trying to make, but I don't think it stands up in this particular occasion. I just feel as if a 3-4 minute moment at the end of the game with Madrid pushing, a bit of a kamikaze stuff, throwing crosses into the box and just saying to Manchester City, can you keep your composure? Can you defend your box for 4 or 5 minutes? And the answer was no, City couldn't do it. Whew. What are you doing? Is your missus been out? She sent you about 3 texts, and see, your missus, where are you? You promised me you'd be back 10:30.
Oh dear, we are saying goodnight here on News Talk. We may keep going. We may keep going.
Unbelievable.
We may keep going on our social channels. We'll see. See if we can get some Leo Bird. See what we can organise.
It's the Champions League. It's not the Carabao Cup 4th round, Joe. Champions League semi-final.
Oh dear.
Oh my God.
Well, we're headed for extra time one way or another.
Just leave the mic on. I'm staying here. Get yourself home. We'll tell your missus you're on your way. Just leave the mic on.
Kenny Cunningham with you between 10 and midnight. Someone tell Tom Dunn. And OTB AM with you tomorrow morning. Kenny will still be here then. Right, good night.